Okay, welcome out. Here we are, getting towards the end, another list and a continuing list of lists. As I said before, we're doing this in three phases: pre-college, college, post-college. Of course, college is the longest, most intensive, detailed phase. So here, now we're talking about, after you've uh, gone through all your courses, you've preferably done well. You're getting at least a B average. If you're below a B average, it will not go as well for you, I can tell you. That's why you want to keep the grades up. For instance, once you get to grad school, no such thing as uh, C's, D's, or F's. You have to get all A's and B's. So that's good training for the afterlife, so to speak, or after school, where school is important, grades are important. Doing well to get good grades is important, but the real test comes into actual hands-on application of your knowledge, skills, and attitudes in the workplace. And you're getting paid for something, paid for your efforts, hopefully good efforts. Hopefully you've studied well and you've trained your mind to think well, and you've got your critical thinking, your logic, and your reasoning down well. You've got your craft and your skill and your knowledge-based information down well as regards to your major. You've picked up some life skills, you've picked up some work skills, and so forth, right? So it's a culminating effect. And, as I said before, first job is always the most challenging to get. Once you've got some experience, sky's the limit. I know getting my first job wasn't that hard, as a matter of fact, but I got my first job even before I graduated with my master's. I was teaching at the college level even before I had my master's, with qualifying events on my resume. But that job, and then once I got my next job, and getting into the desired fields or areas that you want to get into is a little difficult sometimes as well to kind of break through. I eventually broke through and got into a college and some area of teaching that I wanted to get into, but it took me at least a couple of years, 2, 3 years. And there were other avenues that I was attempting to go down, sometimes successful, sometimes still not. So, it all works for the better. Anyways, this is optimizing your interview. What to do when you're faced with a dreaded interview, right? I think most people get a lot of hand and knee sweat when you're talking interviews. The gatekeeper to leveling up beyond mere education into an applied use of that degree. So as I said before, once you're done with a degree, that's showcasing for sure your ability to learn and to take tests and to write papers. But it's still in the abstract. Once you get into the workforce, that's where all the abstraction leaves or goes away, and you're dealing directly with results. You're going to get paid for a good job that you do, not necessarily getting paid for grades, right? Let's take a look at some things you can do to improve your chance of getting beyond the interview to an invite to work, okay? What to wear. It seems like kind of a simple thing, maybe even a silly thing to some people. Is it really that big of a deal is the question, right? Keep in mind that this is most likely your first impression, the first time you will be meeting those at your potential place of employment face to face. I know nowadays there are video interviews or video resumes as well, but this is the real first exposure that you're going to have to probably at least one, if not multiple multiple employers. You're probably going to meet with human resources first, then maybe a couple people in that department. I don't know how it works in every field, but it varies. And then you're going to start interviewing for the position that you're interviewing for. And usually it's you might, like if you're applying for a programming position, you'll get the manager, maybe the senior programmer, maybe another programmer, uh, a less senior programmer, and then the CEO or the COO. So you're dealing with a lot of different people, and you really have to kind of put. I don't want to say put yourself on the back burner. You want to be yourself for sure, but at the same time, you want to be reserved because this is an interview. They're looking at you from the position of I want to employ you, and also do I want to work with you? That part of your personality uh, should shine through. Is this someone that I would want to work with, or we could work with comfortably over a period of years, right? Anyways, so you want that first impression is important. Be freshly showered, trimmed, clothed for your interview. Keep in mind that this is not only benefits the employer, as in setting the tone for the interview, but for you as well. Dressing well and feeling well go hand in hand, right? Make sure you take advantage of the situation to bolster your energy and self-esteem. Excuse me. Also, you want to dress well, but don't overdo it. Wearing a tux to a ball game is not the direction you want to head in. You can ask around to see what would be appropriate for the interview. Maybe a friendly person at the company, those you know in the field, or you can or you can do a little research, searching online. Me, in the field of academia, we're not going in there with three-piece suits on or suits on at all, really. We're just kind of, nice pants, nice shirt, what you would wear, if you were teaching a class that day. But it all varies, and I know it also varies East Coast to West Coast. East Coast is more formal, West Coast is more laid back. So you really got to know the lay of the land, right? Number two, when to arrive. You might be asked to arrive 15 minutes early to the interview, but you're better off leaving at least an hour for the unknown. Get lost, difficulty finding parking, or something else goes wrong. So if they tell you to be there at 3:45, you should leave at 2:30 to ensure a proper arrival. I like to, even to this day, teaching my classes 25 years in, I like to arrive at least a half hour early. Sometimes I'm there an hour early, depending on what's going on, right? You want to be prepared. You want to be in the proper frame of mind. You want everything taken care of. You want everything settled before you go into the interview, right? You want to make sure that you leave enough time for yourself to get to the bathroom, grab a cool drink, just relax, collect your thoughts, practice a few answers to potential questions before the interview. So, because and I've done this, believe me, this is what I've gone to interviews, and I remember when I was living in Boston and traffic like LA, terrible. And you drive through traffic for a half hour, 45 minutes, an hour, and it's just brutal traffic. Your nerves are on end, when you get to the interview. And the last thing you want to do is go from that state of mind right into the interview, so it's frayed nerves on top of frayed nerves. So, you want to take some time, take a breath, maybe walk around a little bit, hit the restroom, get a drink, cool down, collect your thoughts, relax, do some breathing exercises if you have to, whatever works. So that's critical stuff. Very important. So is attitude and overall mindset. If you're like most people, your mind is racing, thinking about the interview, how you'll do, are you prepared, will you get the job, so forth and so on. Through it all, remember that you want to be yourself. This is no time to attempt to develop the perfect interviewee persona. What exactly would a new computer programmer working at XYZ company be like? Well, what type of manufactured standard persona can I portray or give them, something out of the box that I can just unpackage and they'll go, oh yes, this is perfect. Let me unwrap that perfectly boxed personality and we'll hire you right away. Doesn't work that way. Remain level-headed, friendly, and aware of your surroundings. Focus, concentrate, and give it your all. Avoid offhanded comments or humor. I remember I got a position at Braun in Boston, working as a programmer. Speaking of programmers, that was my second life, programmer. And I actually got the job. I got the job, and then the first day at work, the CEO, I think it was the CEO, who was the last person I spoke to, um, interviewed me. And he came by that day and he said, "How's it going?" I said, "Oh, not bad, but I've had better days." And he kind of took exception to that. Uh, why did I say that? Well, I think I had just broken up with a girlfriend or fiance. I was emotionally really distraught. I had had insomnia for 2 or 3 days. I think the stress of that, and also the interview and moving up from Connecticut to Boston, there was a lot on my mind, a lot on my plate. And all I said was, well, I've not bad, but I've had better days, you know, and he kind of took exception to that. So you never know. The most innocuous comments can kind of be taken wrong. But I mean, I wasn't fired because of it, but he just didn't see it as a positive. Kind of odd, right? But that's the executive mindset, different from the layperson or the worker bee mindset, right? At the time, I was just an entry level programmer. Focus, concentrate, give it your all. Offhanded comments, don't do that. Leave that for when you get the job and have gotten comfortable with your fellow employees. You'd be surprised how a simple, innocuous comment, as I said, can be taken wrong, right? Um, so just be aware of that stuff, right? You might think, oh, I'm just going to act relaxed and jocular and tell some jokes. You can have the most G-rated, PG or G-rated jokes go wrong, believe me. Now come the questions. The best thing to do is to be honest as possible and avoid be candid. Avoid canned, memorized responses. Interviewers can tell whether they're talking to a human or a prepared speech, right? You certainly want to think about your answers, but don't give out banal industry standard responses. Again, something out of the box. What exactly would be an industry standard response or responses to these type of questions for such and such a position in such and such a area of the workforce, right? Avoid that training film type of response, right? You ever see training films? The worst. Be honest, relaxed, sincere, and forthcoming. Number 5, it's okay to convey your accomplishments. Yes, you have achieved some things, acquired some skills, knowledge, and attitude that employers want to know about, so go for it. But at the same time, don't overdo it. There's a fine balance between informing and bragging. Don't degrade yourself, talk down about yourself, but don't be a braggart either. Toe the line, it's a fine line, so don't put on your super humble persona. Oh, I'm so humble, I'm so kind all the time and reasonable, and I never have any problems with anyone or anything. People are smarter than that, right? So you want to be honest, sincere, forthright. Number 6, have some questions ready to go. There's always at the end, do you have any questions? Right. And I think I asked a question. I think I said of the CEO, I'm surprised. And this is back when I was kind of new to the interviews. I think might have been my first programming job. And I had gotten a job through like a temp agency. I was a temp, then they put me on full time, and then I was working there for a while, got into some programming. So this was really my first, I think, of my first interview. So I definitely made some mistakes, but I got the job, and sometimes you overcome your mistakes. I remember he asked me, the CEO, "Oh, do you have any questions?" And I said, "Yeah, how much time do we have for lunch?" So I thought, oh, there's a funny one. He just kind of looked at me and said, "Well, it's in your manual." Excuse me. So Be careful of that. Later your interview, you get an opportunity to ask some questions. They're not simply asking about how much time for lunch. There you go. Afternoon breaks. Here's an opportunity to show your understanding of the job you'll be doing, the work environment, other insightful factors. So at this point, you want to show that you've done your homework, that you're aware of the position, what the position requires, what the position is doing for the company. You also want to be aware of the company. Where's the company? Where's the company? What are it stand? How is it standing? Where does it stand within the environment, the workforce, the sector, the job sector, or sector of the workforce that they're in? What's going on? Trends that are occurring in the workforce, or in my case, in a technology or that division or whatever, right? So do your homework, really know what's going on at the potential employer, place of work, and as regards to the specific job that you'll be working, as well as the general environment, the competition, background, all that stuff, right? This is an opportunity to show your potential employer that you're serious about the position and have done your homework and research. Right. Finally, if you don't get the job, don't despair. Not getting a job offer happens to the best of us. Actually happens to all of us. It's happened to me more times. You will probably get rejected 70% of the time, 80% of the time. And the few times that you don't, that's when you get the job. Right. Don't take it personally. Maybe you're a great candidate, but you arrived late in the process. They already had their eyes on an earlier interviewee. One they had locked in pretty solid. But remember that there are a lot of candidates applying and only a few openings. Thus, the majority will not be offered a job. Keep your wits about you, hang in there, and keep looking. Remember, it's about timing and numbers. Keep trying. All right.